What's happening, team? Liam from Lazarus Personal Training. In this video I'm going to talk about exactly why we need to warm up before we compete in a pro wrestling match. I want you to ask yourself this question: before you have a pro wrestling match, do you warm up? I can guarantee for the most part our answers are maybe, a little bit, sort of. We all do some semblance of a warm up. But who is actually taking the time to make sure that they are warmed up correctly so they are ready to perform? Just like a high-end sports car doesn't start in fifth gear going at 100 miles an hour. We can't realistically think that we can just step into a ring and perform at our absolute best without some semblance of a warm-up. I want you to think about the last time that you were on a wrestling show. Think about looking around the backstage area. I can guarantee you will have probably seen some of these warm-ups. You'll have the push-up. We're about to go out, we're about to perform, we know that we need to do something, so we hit the deck and we hit 10-20 push-ups. It gets us heart rate up, it gets us breathing rate up, it leaves us with a bit of a nice chest pump, we're off and ready to go. You'll also probably see the guy with a resistance band hitting the band pump up. He's pumping up his biceps, he's pumping up his front delts, he might do a little bit of shoulder pressing, he may, if he's really switched on, do some band pull aparts, but he's just sat there pumping away, he's getting his muscles filled with blood to get ready to put on a show. Only problem is he's been warming up now for 40 minutes and his pump has gone. And then finally, my favourite, and one that I'm definitely guilty of, is the monster. We've got ready, we've talked through the match, we realise that we're on now, and we've not done a warm-up. So guess what? That can of ultra white monster is getting opened, it's getting necked, and we are heading out. Despite the fact, Liam, that you know it's not good for your gut, that it makes you feel like you need to go to the toilet instantly, you're still going to drink it and you're still going to go out and perform. So we'll have probably seen those backstage. But what should we be seeing? Well, when it comes to a warm-up, we want to do three things. We want to mobilise the body, stabilise the body and activate the body. When we're talking about mobilising the body, we want to make sure that joints and areas that might be a little bit stiff, might need some extra attention, are moving properly and sufficiently so when we are taking impact into them, they aren't in bad and poor positions. So for mobilising, I would always look at the shoulder joint and making sure that's free and mobile. And I would also look at making sure your hips can properly move. There's nothing worse than going into a wrestling ring and having tight and stiff hips. From there, we're looking at stabilising the body. So if we're looking to stabilise areas, that's making sure that they are strong and supported and can bear weight. So your scapula or your shoulder blades want to be stabilised before you go out into a pro wrestling match. Reason being, whenever we take a back bump, we are pinching our shoulder blades together. We want to make sure that that area is sufficiently warmed up, because if it's out of place, if we don't feel like we're getting the proper squeeze out of it, it's potentially going to lead to an injury off of a back bump. And I would also say to stabilise the ankles, to make sure that they're properly warmed up and that they are strong and controlled. The last thing you want to do is go out into the ring that's got a little bit of a lift into it and roll your ankle. So properly warming up the ankle, making sure that that's stabilised, is going to be a really good thing to do. And then from there, we want to activate the body, and this is a full body thing, and this is where the push-up can come in quite handy. We want to make sure that our heart rate and breathing rate is elevated up. So doing body weight exercises is a good way to go. Maybe skipping, if you can skip, or just finding a set of stairs in the venue that you can run up and down. However you see fit best to get your heart rate going, the better. But let's look at the problems that come with warming up before a wrestling match. Because wrestling is unlike anything else. It's not like a football game where you know the match is starting at this point. A common occurrence when it comes to warming up is that we don't exactly know when we're on. We have a card order, but the match before us might end up going 5 minutes or it might end up going 15 minutes. What I would suggest with that is, if you know what match is on before you, when they head out into the ring, that's your time to start warming up. That's your time to take yourself away, start mobilising, start stabilising and start getting the body activated. Now, you might be done with your warm-up when they're in the middle of their heat and you know full well that they are going indie-rific and hitting a long home stretch. And that's fine. What I would say on that point is, if you've warmed up, you're ready to go. Stay active and keep limber and keep moving, don't get cold. But for the most part, if we're warmed up, that's not going to fade in 10 minutes. We're still going to be at that level that we've warmed up at. just make sure that you keep moving around and that you don't get locked up again. Probably best not to go and sit in a cold room. Another thing is that we might not have that time. We might be hitting the elusive double, or we might just have been sat in traffic. We've had to get changed in the car and we are literally going through the curtain as soon as we get in the venue. On that front, I would say have some sort of flow pattern ready to go. Something that makes you move, something that gets the heart rate and the breathing rate going, something that allows you to get mobile before you go out through that curtain. Especially if you've been sat in a car, you're going to get a little bit locked up and a little bit stiff, especially if you've been sat with a box of t-shirts on your lap. So the important bit there above anything else is that you feel like you can move around. So a quick little flow pattern where you go through a couple of movements linked in together is going to be really, really handy. And then what if you're nervous? What if you've planned a match, it's in your head, and the last thing that you want to do is go and do a warm-up and forget the match? Well, on that front, what I would say is have a warm-up that you know like the back of your hand. Have something that you do time and time again so you don't even have to think about it. So you could be planning the match while warming up. With that, we've still mobilised, we've still stabilised, and we've still activated the body. And we can still be thinking about the match in front of us. For further information and knowledge about warming up, I highly recommend looking at the DeFranco Amped Warm-Up series. It covers in high detail warm-ups for athletic purposes, which is exactly what we're doing. Their Amped 3.0 I think has been released very recently and it's a very good quality. Coming to the end of this video, you might be asking, but Liam, we're in lockdown, we won't have a wrestling match for months, why are you talking about this now? Because I want you to take this practice of warming up before a wrestling match into everything that you do. Every time that you work out, you should be warming up. It should become something that you do regardless. Because how you do one thing is how you do everything. So let's make sure we're warming up before our training sessions at home. Then when schools reopen again, make sure that you have a warm-up that you do before you start training. And then when we're in a wrestling match, it becomes second nature and we don't have to think, oh God, I need to do a warm-up. We can just do the warm-up. My question for you to finish off this video is, do you have a pre-match ritual? Is there something that you need to do before you step out into that ring every single time? If you've liked this video, hit the like button. Maybe share this with someone that you know is an absolute monster warm-up fiend. And if you really like my content, subscribe to the channel because it massively helps. I've been Liam from Lazarus Personal Training and I will see you next time.